Welcome to the Washdown podcast, episode number 59. And tonight we have returning guest Dana Johnson along with Rachel Willoughby Greene. And we're going to talk about relationships with first responders and just a lot of general stuff. It was a really great conversation. Got some different viewpoints. And hey, it's the Valentines Day special, so I know a couple days late, but what are you going to do? So, hope you enjoy the episode. Like, subscribe, and comment. So, here you go, episode 59 of the Washdown podcast.
Don't we all?
I do worry about that, though, with both kids as they're developing. And 17, that's hard. Because he's seeing life and relationships and experiencing what his dad and I went through. And then all of his friends and what their families are going through. And it's kind of like, what cues do you start taking, right? So how do you develop your own relationship when you have all this chaos around you? And you're like, everybody seems happy. But how do you develop your own standards, I think is the crazy. And I just don't want to be a grandma yet. I'm one down.
Oh, it's going to be good for all of us if that happens. All the granny jokes we can make.
I mean, that could still happen with my 21-year-old. But with a boy, I only had to worry about one. With a girl, you worry about all of them. All of them.
Well, that has to be, and I can't really speak. I mean, my parents didn't get divorced until well after I was out of the house. So, but growing up in that household, I mean, yeah, you're right. I mean, what examples does he have or, behavior to model?
Right.
Because, kids are sponges, and they see that. We see that with our nephew.
They mimic.
Yeah. Our nephew, he mimics all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's great until you get him to do something that not
it's
so
cute
great.
when they're 2, but is it cute when they're 15 and
it's
saying
not.
those same bad words? It's not. They're not cute anymore.
No.
So, so the perspective I want to make sure that I hit on is that even if you are divorced or a single parent, you can still present what you want and expect in a relationship as much as you can with a 2-parent marriage, if that makes sense, though, too. And I'll say, so when you were growing up, what was it like? I mean, they divorced after.
Mm-hmm.
So was there arguments? Did they ever argue? I feel like this needs to be your realm.
No, go for it.
Not so much in front of us.
Right. My parents didn't either.
There was always tension. But never really like any, big arguments or anything like that. It was very cold. If that makes sense.
It does. It does. So my parents celebrated, they'll celebrate 54 years of marriage in April. Before his MS, they were a totally separate couple than they are now. Of course, now he depends on her to care for him. And so that kind of shapes how I look at relationships now, because it's like, I want someone the older, I'm getting up there in age. The older I get, I kind of need someone that's willing to wipe my old person butt if I'm sick. Sorry. Till death do part.
Or get a bidet.
Yeah, but you're still gonna, when you're not feeling good, you need, anyways.
Yeah.
So their relationship has changed over the years, as all relationships, I believe, do change and evolve. But they used to laugh and be like, they were true soulmates. Of course, his mental health now is a little bit different, and it's taken a little bit that away. Every now and again, we get to see it, which is fun. But they were just true friends all the way through their marriage. Even as kids, we never saw them mad at each other. I'm sure there were plenty of times where there were arguments, but they never argued in front of us. And it was their reasoning behind that was it wasn't your business. I'm like, that's a great way of putting it.
Mm-hmm.
So to show that to my own kids, because that frigid is where my kids and their father and I were for several years. And it's like, this isn't what I want a marriage to be. I don't want them to learn that this is what a marriage looks like.
Right.
Because this is not.
Yeah.
This is not.
Yeah.
This
And
is roommates.
Yeah. And ultimately, they'd be better off
Yeah.
being separate. So.
I don't always agree with the thought process of, when I got a lot of it when I was trying to make the decision of, how much fighting do you do? Is it better for the kids? Is it not? Ultimately, you do what's best. But trying to keep a marriage together just because you have children, I think is a cop-out. It doesn't do anybody any good, mental health-wise. And you can try. I tried numerous times to get counseling, and it just wasn't in the cards. And I finally said, it's not healthy. This is not what I want my daughter to see. I know we can do better separate. So we were able to maneuver our relationship and make it more to where he was happy and I was happy, and we raised kids together. And it's been it's a lot of work. A lot of work.
Well, yeah.
A lot of work.
If it was easy.
Well, I think the hardest part of it is trying to make sure to leave the emotion out of it. Because, yes, could have, should have, would have, but we're not there anymore. And so we need to move forward with how can we make this work for the best of the kids? And I think that's where a lot of people fail is they bring up, well, wish you would have treated me like that. But it doesn't matter.
No.
It literally doesn't matter. No regrets. Be happy. Go be happy.
Yeah. Well, and I think a lot of people, I don't know, it's just kind of the feeling that I get is they tend to not think that way about the kids because once you have a kid, you're responsible for that human life. So kind of your needs, yes, you still have needs and wants and dreams and all that stuff, but you're responsible for them. So you have to take care of them and make sure they're happy, taken care of, fed, clothed, watered, all that stuff. Your needs kind of have to take a back seat, at least for a little while.
They should. I think there's a way to balance it.
Mm-hmm. And again, I'm an expert on this subject because I have 0 kids.
Well, no, I get it, but you're hitting some really good points. But I think because what I see from my children's peers is the perception that when there is a divorce, then it's party time, and let's go out and let's meet someone, and I'm going to introduce you to my children. That hasn't happened on 2 occasions for my children. These kids have so much going on. They don't need my personal life and relationship on top of all the pressures they have. So why would you dump that on a kid who can't even grapple with the concept of a relationship? So my theory has always been my personal life is my personal business. And when I see that it's at a relationship point where marriage is a possibility, then you can see my kids. Until then, my kids are off limits. I don't discuss it. They're not a part of the discussion. But I see so many people make that mistake that they put themselves first. And you have to heal. You have to grieve. And that's the next part is how do you do all that and try to be healthy for your kids and not break down all the time. That's tough.
Yeah. Because you do have to grieve. It's a loss.
Yeah. And I think that's where a lot of people lose the part. They're not given a chance to grieve.
Yeah. Yeah. And especially, because I will see people jump right into, having to figure out all the co-parenting stuff like you were talking about, and we're going to do all of this and the focus. And I'm like, you got to grieve too. There's all kinds of losses, not just physical death. And so that's a big part of the process.
But how do you know when you've successfully gone through that process?
Through
the grief.
Well, and so I don't know, your guys' perspective would probably be different from mine, right? Because I haven't been through a divorce. So, I don't know what that looks like. Like, what does that look like for you guys? How did you know?
I was totally fine day 2. I'm kidding.
There is, everybody's grief process is different. Just like when,
Sure.
a death, like we can't say like it's these stages and that's
in
what
6
it
months
looks
you'll be
like,
totally fine.
Right. Yeah. Everybody's grief
When
is
I think
different. And it comes in waves.
But I think it has a lot to do with the relationship that you have with that person. By the time my ex and I went to court, we were good. Like, it took a lot of maneuvering, not manipulation, but maneuvering to get past, to look at the business, keep the emotional in the past, because I can't fix what's already happened. Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to hold somebody else's feet to the fire for something that's already happened. That does no good. Mm-hmm. So we can just move forward from here. But by the time we went to court, we actually went to lunch afterwards, and we had some really good tears. And it was that grieving process of, we should have done better. Why didn't we? Well, we just didn't. And we're not going to keep spinning these wheels of why didn't we? Mm-hmm. Because there's no benefit to that for us. But a lot of it, the job played a huge part in my relationship. He was working midnights and I was working days, and I was mom and hurry up, get kids home and fed and get him up. And then he would go to work and then come home and be quiet. Daddy's sleeping. Daddy's sleeping again.
Just ships passing in the night.
Yeah. I mean, it was good for our relationship. We never saw each other. It's like,
obviously it wasn't.
It didn't.
Right, yeah. Pros and cons.
In the long term.
Yeah. But,
Sure.
Yeah. So, 2 things. Yeah, the past is the past. You can't change any of that stuff. And trying to go back over and, well, if I would have done this. Well, when you find a time machine that lets you go back and change that, you let me know.
There's something to be learned from it.
Yes.
Right. You can
not make the same mistake in the future.
Sure. Because then it's not a mistake, it's a choice.
Yeah. And then also making decisions when you're emotional always leads to bad decisions.
I always make decisions when I'm emotional. It's when I come up with the best solutions to a problem.
You have a prepaid ticket on the consequence bus, don't you?
They somehow, luckily, they always work out. I don't know why, but it just does. Either that or else I force it, like a puzzle piece.
There you go. Mm-hmm. Square hole, round peg.
Yeah, it'll fit.
Yeah.
Eventually. Keep trying.
Just get a bigger hammer.
Just keep trying.
Yep.
Wear it down eventually.
Just get a bigger hammer. That's all you need.
Call the fire department. They'll come fix it.
They're sledgehammers.
Oh, yeah.
That's what they do.
That's exactly what we do. Whenever you can't figure out,
here we go.
Then we are the last, very, very last line of defense for you using common sense.
Yep. I'm not going to feed into it because it could go bad.
Come on, what you got?
Bait and hook. I wouldn't say last line of offense. I mean, I guess if I want to learn how to play video games, I call the fire department.
You need to come up with something new. That's your go-to is the video games.
I don't play video games. You guys have all the setup.
I have not played a video game at a fire station in probably 8 years.
What are you playing instead?
Checkers. There's only 2 colors.
Play chess, not checkers.
Okay.
Get fancy.
Yeah. It's called tactics. Chess is the game of kings.
Wow. Hang on, let me go get my boots because it's getting thick in here.
No, I mean, to be perfectly honest, if you want to get into that, part of the reason that I really haven't seen anybody playing video games too much at the stations anymore, you just don't have time.
Right.
There's call volume has went up so much, and like the games that we used to play.
Sure.
Like whenever I first came on, it was Tiger Woods golf. You can pause that and you make a run and come back and pick it up right up where you left off.
Well, and that's fairly calming too.
Yeah.
I presume.
But then, everybody kind of migrates over to playing Halo or Call of Duty or something like that. Well, those games are, by and large, they're online games. So you're in the middle of a game.
Right.
You're leaving. And then you come back and you got kicked out of the room for inactivity, whatever. Somebody killed you 40 times while you were just standing there. So
it's got to be hard when it's on a video game and not people really shooting at you in real life. It's got to be tough.
Oh.
do you really want to go there?
Kind of had to for a second. But you were. I'm gonna get you back on track because you came real quick.
Before I start talking about point blank range.
Oh, come on. Okay, Mr. Backdraft.
Yeah. Hey.
You were talking about you
best
were going to
documentary.
It is a really good show. I can't believe you haven't seen that. You're gonna have to watch it.
I know.
A list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because when did that come out?
Early 90s.
Yeah, it's totally
probably.
90s.
Yeah.
It's got Kurt Russell.
Kurt
in it.
Russell.
It was when
Why
he
I
was
never
huge.
saw it.
One of the Baldwin. Robert De Niro's in it.
Really?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He's the fire investigator.
I'm sure, I feel like it was on in my household at some point.
Yeah.
Well, Scott Glenn was in it, so for sure.
Who
Your
is that?
dad probably watched it. He played in a bunch of cowboy movies.
Oh, so why don't I know who that is? I was watching all the cowboy movies with my dad, but
Yeah.
As soon
I
as
don't
you
know.
see him, you'll be like, "Oh, that guy."
yeah.
Yeah.
So I feel like I remember it on in my household, but I don't remember it. So
Yeah.
that's on my list now.
Well, I mean, it
There's-
was like won
that's my
every
bucket.
Academy Award that year. I mean,
Really?
it was.
Oh my God! Am I so stupid?
He was.
Why am I so gullible?
You're not. You're not. That was pretty smooth. I'll give it to you. That was pretty smooth. But for those of us who have watched it
Yes.
and know what was going on at that
Okay,
time.
so I can
Yeah.
I can set in my ignorance of it.
Yes. No,
Yeah.
he totally led you down the rabbit hole
Yes.
on that one.
I let
I
you
have heard
stray.
the stroking of his ego over here, and it was offensive.
Talk about trust in marriage.
Yeah.
Can we talk about that?
You know, that was a really good.
I watched Heartland with you, okay?
Don't throw her under the bus. Don't. No.
just saying.
You just sit over there with your.
You know, one thing I was gonna say though about all jokes aside about what firemen do, there's a huge misconception, and and I think in both realms, but for civilians and then even with clinicians, there's a big misconception about what firefighters do. And I will still hear people go I had no idea they run EMS calls or they do all this other stuff. I thought they just hung around until, they ate and they worked out and they played video games. And I mean, I've even heard, I was at a training that was specifically for first responders. And there was a clinician that talked about the stress that law enforcement are on in this shift, throughout the entire shift until you're off duty. But then they were talking about, but firefighters get to go back to their station and they can just chill. And I'm like, I don't think you understand the level of stress that you stay at regardless.
Yeah.
You go back, but you're still waiting. Your brain knows, your nervous system knows, you're waiting for the next thing. It's not like you go back and you're just I'm so chill now, but
I mean,
it
I
is
think your
interesting. There's a lot
level of hyper awareness comes down just a smidgen, probably.
bit, yeah.
But you're, like you said, your body is ready to react because that's what you've conditioned it, the operant condition.
Right. It's just conditioning. Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to
It's-
be ready to go.
You have to be able to go from 0 to 10 like that,
Well, I think it
So-
depends on the city, though, too, because for us, I think, like you mentioned earlier, the call volume has gone up. And a lot of that has to do with we haven't been able to respond as quickly on a lot of calls because of our volume. So, it's socially, there are things that are going on that are causing a reaction, a ripple wave.
Yeah.
for you guys to
Well,
have to respond to.
But I mean, I wish it was just here, but
Yeah.
it's not. It's nationwide. I mean, you talk to people in other departments and, I mean, they're going through the same thing.
Right.
I mean, we're all going through the same thing. All of the, especially larger cities, call volumes have shot up. Staffing has went down. It's just the reality of the situation is coming into public service as a career is no longer viewed as desirable to the up and coming generation. It's
Well,
not.
And the reason for that, there's a lot of reasons behind that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a multifaceted. Part of it is what's been going on the last 2 years.
Right.
You know, with the George Floyd thing, the pandemic. I mean, just
Pay
Pay
is a huge issue.
But then also, most of it, what it seems like, and I was talking to somebody else about this the other day, but the newer generation actually pay is less important. It's more about job satisfaction, work-life balance, and all of that stuff. Well,
Agreed.
You don't have that in public service.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a cop or a firefighter, it's not like, oh, it's Thanksgiving, I get the day off. I'm going to go be with my family.
Right.
Yeah, you got, depending on what shift you got a 1 in 3 shot.
Right.
You know, if you're on another shift, you got a less of a shot, you know, because we run a 3-shift system, and that middle shift, B shift, they get the holidays 2 years in a row. It's just how it works out.
Right.
So, yeah. And so I think with all of those issues combined, that's why we're seeing what we're seeing. While you go from 17 years ago, 18 years ago, you're having 3,000 applicants for 100 positions or 150 positions, to now we have the same number of positions, you're getting 200 applicants. Or even we have more positions to fill, but.
Well, and for us, our numbers are just going down consistently. I mean, my class was a class of 65. We graduated 28, which I guess that's pretty normal. But 24. So we're looking at 75% of that.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe 18.
Yeah.
That holiday thing reminds me, it was super funny on, there was a really good meme, and it was actually another firewife who shared it during the holidays. And it was like, I think it was from a movie, but like this lady's just chilling, you know, and like drinking a glass of wine. And it was like, all y'all out there crying about being alone on the holidays, and firewives are sitting back here like just drinking wine. I'm like,
you get used to doing it.
You do. Yeah. And you realize like it's not that day. You make it work when it works.
Sure.
Yeah.
You
Your
learn
spouse is home.
You learn to have your own celebrations and work around the schedule, and have the argue. We used to have to argue with what family we were spending the day with, because it was like, look, I have to work. Well, can't you take it up? Yeah, I mean, I could. The answer's going to be no.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
just make it work.
Yeah. And that's how I grew up, though. Anyway, my dad worked on an offshore oil rig. So, I mean, it wasn't unusual.
What was it? What did you just say?
I said an offshore oil rig.
Is that oil?
Oh, did you hear his Louisiana come out?
Oil.
Oil.
Sorry.
Yeah.
How do I
Anyway.
say it? Now I don't know how to say it.
Oil.
Now you're going
It
to be.
doesn't matter.
Oil?
It's in my head.
Yeah.
I think we know I can't talk when you put a mic in front of my face anyway. I lose like
You do
80% of my
fine.
vocabulary and
Perfectly fine.
can't spell.
So, right?
I know. This is,
I tried to
It's
spell
scary.
Mississippi earlier, and I missed a couple of
you got to do, am I a crooked letter?
I
Crooked
know.
letter?
That's it. Come back, guy.
Yes.
It wasn't even in the right state.
Oh.
Swear, it has the same
yeah.
letters.
No,
though.
when you do you do that
Louisiana.
when these if you've been on? Have you listened back at yourself? I can't.
I
Then I'm just like, nope, delete it.
Like,
Get
that's
rid of
an
it. I
idiot.
say
Who-
right.
Who put her on?
Every
That's an
late-
The
idiot.
last one
I
that.
should get.
Yeah. The last one
She's
that
an
she
expert?
came on. Last one we did with her, it was almost 2 hours long or something. It was a long one. And we had to sit here and watch the whole thing so she could go, okay, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was.
That's never as bad as you think. I can't stand the sound of my own voice. So whatever you do,
Yeah.
it's great.
Well,
Do
hopefully,
the thing like on the karaoke. Just change
shit.
it where everybody sounds like chipmunks.
that would be awesome. Run it through a vocal processor.
That might
No, it's
that
hideous.
might
Listening back to yourself is bad.
cause
It's
some
brutal.
people to wonder if we're over here smoking weed.
Sounding like a chipmunk? I believe that
Having too much fun.
would... Oh. Well, you know...
Helium.
Helium, yeah. That's an option on there, too, on the karaoke machine that my wife got me for my birthday.
Aw.
Yeah.
Happy belated birthday.
Oh, well, thank you.
25
Yes. And holding.
and holding. Looks good for 25.
Never mind the gray hair.
We don't count gray hair.
Nope.
It's just a sign of aging.
So,
Wisdom.
but yeah, that would be cool. Vocal processor for the podcast.
Right.
Totally off topic.
Totally off topic.
I don't
but
remember what
yeah.
we were talking about with relationships.
You were talking about your meme.
Yeah, and then we were talking about holidays and adapting and
Yeah, and I was in the middle of talking about how I grew up, and then
Oh, he said oil.
yeah, I
Oil.
said
Rig. Your
oil.
parents were on oil.
I said
rig.
oil.
okay, go back to
Yeah.
the rig. Sorry.
Yeah. Anyway, it wasn't unusual for us to celebrate Thanksgiving and Christmas together, or Christmas in January, or however it went, because his schedule was,
Sure.
you know, either 14 on and 14 off, 21 on, 21 off, 30 on, 30 off, whatever it was, depending on where in the world he was working. So whenever I came on the fire department, it wasn't a big deal to me to have to work on Christmas or work
Sure.
on Thanksgiving.
Because you were already used
Because
to
I
it.
was already used to that. So I know for some guys in my class that first year, you know, it was kind of they're like, man, this is, why aren't we getting off? And I'm like, emergencies don't stop. People still call 911 on Thanksgiving. Somebody
Yeah.
has to go. So figure it out.
That literally didn't even cross my mind. I didn't even know I
Yeah.
was going to be working at night outside.
I want to know what you were
Yeah.
thinking.
Crime only happens between 9 and 5,
It was
Monday
really not
through
about.
Friday.
It was really not about crime. I knew zero about the job. Even, I mean, it's look. I never said it was smart.
What was the draw for you?
I don't know. I always wanted to be a police officer.
No, you said last time you came on, the draw for you was bossing around me.
Yes,
That's,
and that and carrying a gun.
Yeah.
That was part of it. Beating. Well, there was a lot to that. Yeah. There was that first conversation was a really long one.
yeah.
No, I wanted to do good. I think I've got some stuff in my past that I think motivated that thought process. Sticking up for those who needed somebody else to do it for. So, but yeah, I didn't think anything about being outside like all the time in the snow in the middle of the night. It's like that. What? That doesn't make any sense. Like, why would you do that? Well, but the first year, I think, you know, I was 22. I was young. I didn't have any kids. Parents were cool with it. I was having a blast. Heck yeah, I'll stand out in the snow. I'm getting paid. It's great. It's awesome. I'll sit out here all the time. It's great.
I got a
Yeah.
gun.
I got a gun. Helicopters coming down. Fire department sitting back there waiting for us.
Those second responders.
Jeez. Waiting for us to be canaries. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's more of
Blue
you.
canary.
There's more of you than there are of us.
get
Everyone needs cannon fodder.
You know, everybody has a job. We all have a
Exactly.
role.
Exactly.
There you go.
I mean, ours is more important, but you know, whatever.
Ours is more important. You're right. The job that we do collectively.
Oh, we're all on the same team. We're trying to protect and serve
Yes.
and keep the citizens.
Put a boo-boo Band-Aid on somebody.
Yeah.
Pay for those Band-Aids.
Oh, about me. That's it. Our nephew. Sorry. Our little nephew. I feel like every
It
story
almost
goes that.
went, man. I love your new equipment, but it almost got ruined.
Because He wants the
Good
Batman
thing, because then
Band-Aid.
I'd have to rely on the fire department to give me CPR. I'd be like, no, I'm fine. Mouth compressions aren't part of it anymore, Jeremy.
I think I can do CPR with my foot.
Yeah,
Just
I bet you could, yeah. That's too funny.
Hey. So yes, that's what she was referencing. Was our nephew. Every time whenever he stayed with us a couple weeks ago, he would fall down or whatever, and then he'd get a boo-boo, and it'd be, oh, Batman
Because he had the
Band-Aids.
Batman Band-Aids.
Yeah.
So he just wanted a Batman Band-Aid
Yeah.
for everything.
Yeah.
Right? A Batman.
So I think he had 8 Batman Band-Aids on all over his clothes at one point.
So I can remember when my daughter was really young, like 2 or 3. Her dad was on nights and I was on days. And to cut down on cost, daycare cost, he would take her a little bit later in the day and try to stay awake. So he'd work all night and then he'd try to stay awake a little bit longer because he felt bad. I mean, there's guilt that goes into taking your kid to daycare so you can get some sleep. So I come home. Apparently, we didn't go to daycare that day. I get home, and he's just passed out in our 3rd bedroom. She's been putting boo-boo Band-Aids on him all day. He is just covered head to toe on colored Band-Aids. Sound asleep. Just could not. They were totally fine. Totally fine. But boo-boo Band-Aids, kids and Band-Aids. They'd love Band-Aids.
They do
Oh
love
my
Band-Aids.
goodness.
Yeah.
My sister and I did something similar to our dad. The sticker earrings were
Oh, yeah.
so big, and he didn't know we put sticker earrings on when he was asleep. He was a sheet metal worker, and he went to work.
That went
with
well.
it. Yeah,
That's great.
those little stars.
And I think today you could probably get away with it because people go to work with nail polish
This is true.
and things,
Probably wouldn't
but-
say anything.
but
You
back
don't want to
then-
offend anybody.
Yeah.
So nobody's going to say anything today.
I think maybe in that career field, you probably would still
Somebody
catch some
probably still
shit
say something.
because it's,
pretty masculine.
yeah. Well, I don't even really equate it to being masculine so much as there's just a different mentality with,
A
you know,
masculine mentality.
no,
Like what kind of mentality?
just not getting
Be a man. Get over there and do that sheet metal.
not getting offended so easily over a joke,
Right.
or being able to poke fun at each other, and there's that
Kinda like
camaraderie.
Construction
Yeah.
type of, kind of like our professions are.
Yeah.
So speaking of that, I think that, and I don't know if you guys experience this. Well, no, I know you do because you're married to me. Because
I don't know if you knew that, Jeremy. Did you know that?
what is wrong?
Did
with
you need a
you
reminder?
guys?
You know
I'm
what Monday
vaguely-
is. You
I'm-
better take care of Monday. That's
We
a reminder.
never celebrate.
at the station.
Oh, we never celebrate Valentine's Day. My dad. It's kind of sad because this is the first Valentine's Day without my dad since he died last year, and he was always the one to get us Valentines. Like it would always be like chocolates or a little bear or something from Dad. I don't know that we never really celebrate Valentine's Day in our relationship.
No.
I mean, we can start because I need that tea kettle, but whatever. But anyway, what I was
Like, I feel awkward right now.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you picked up on that, but
I-
you're going to have to pick up the slack.
Oh no!
on Val-
I don't know. Like what the other day, I
Like,
realized.
how would you not?
Yes.
Well,
I
no,
mean,
what's
I'm pretty
funny-
clueless, but
Well,
I mean,
you're a fireman.
I'm
there's-
pretty honest though.
Let me go ahead and spill
Like
it
I'm
out
pretty
in fire.
honest. Like
Sure.
I'm not because what was funny as I think I said like it's Valentine's Day, like we should do something or like we should plan a meal since you're gonna be on shift for 48 hours.
Yeah.
And then I realized yesterday I'm like, why did I say should? Like we should do this. Like does it really? Like, what difference does it make? Because we try to make the time where we make the time, right? Like, we sit
Right.
down and schedule a monthly date or whatever. But what I was going to say was, like, the jokes. Because, like, we've had to work on this where, especially if he was on 48 hours or longer at the station and he would come home in station mode, and I'd have to be like, hey, the jokes don't land the same. Like you're
apparently
super
I'm
you're
not-
super ornery, and
Yeah. I am not a funny individual. Yes.
Sometimes you
Should-
are.
I get it. I get
Yeah.
it. Because you
But
do
it's
have to
just
do that mental.
different.
I have had that same issue in some of my dating relationships where I come home and it's like, okay, I need to not be so masculine when I come home because I'm so used to being around the men and the guys and flinging it just as easy as they're flinging it back.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody, that's not funny to everybody. The jokes don't hit the same. But at home, changing that when you come in the door. That's tough.
Can be.
So I think it's awesome that you guys do not put an emphasis. I hate Valentine's Day. I'll just say it right now. I hate Valentine's Day. I hate the fact that we focus so much on materialistic things, showing an expression of a feeling for one day.
Right.
Like I hate
It's a
that.
day.
Yeah.
I hate that.
Yeah.
I like how you said you focus on the relationship every day.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just one particular day. And I think that's an important piece is that when you are in a fluid situation like our jobs, where you can't get butt hurt because it's your birthday and we're on call or
Right.
that's kind of what we all signed up for. I'm going to do the best I can.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. As soon as I get done with this call, I'll do the best I can. But that's with any relationship though. No matter whether it's law enforcement or fire department, you have to work with the softballs that you're given.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, I mean, that goes so far as even with her career as a
Yeah.
therapist. I mean, it's not a 9-to-5 gig.
Yeah.
I mean, there are things that
It's really
happen,
not. Yeah.
and times where she's got to go do stuff. And if we had stuff planned or whatever, then, well, we have to reschedule,
Sure.
But we make the time to do that.
Yes.
You
And staying
know.
on top of it. That's
Yeah.
important. I bet you it's kind of hard though too to leave that stuff at work. I mean, we talk about how hard it is to leave our jobs at work, leave work at work.
Yeah.
Because we're constantly on the awareness. We're always on the hurry up and save someone. But you're on the same aspect though too, because it's just a little bit different. Like carrying around other people. The way I see it, I know that's not the correct way of seeing it, is carrying around other people's problems. It's like the first thing I did. I'm like, hey, I'm going to dump this on your doorstep and I want you to just handle it real quick. And then I'm going to move on.
Go on.
And then we'll just be fine. We're going to ignore it.
Just
and you get to
validate me and then we're
yeah,
good.
yeah. Let me tell you what I need.
Yeah.
But you were very clear about what you needed.
Yeah.
Which I'm
Yeah.
sure there's men listen. Like Dana can tell you what she needs.
It's not hard. I'm pretty
It's
vocal.
very important.
This is, I don't. Things are not a secret here. Yeah, I'm single. Yeah, let's go ahead and single. Yeah, that's great. Been divorced.
We'll do a dating show. Wouldn't that be fun?
It'd be so much fun. Please don't invite my mother. She'll tell you all the things that I need to do
Well, then
to be more feminine.
That sounds even more fun.
Oh, yes, please.
We'll have her over
We would
there.
definitely need more tea.
Right. Lots more.
We'll have her.
Lots more tea.
We'll have her over there behind
No,
the camera,
please.
just
I
as
would
a
just be done.
disembodied voice.
I would be done with it. I love my
Yeah.
mother to pieces. It sounds horrible the way that I'm joking about it. I have never had someone so wholeheartedly and blindly support me and be so proud, but then turn around and stab you in the back. It's what I aspired to be as a mother. Hang on. As a child, okay,
Are we
so
gonna talk
I'll
about
give
your
it.
mommy issues.
So I'll give you an example.
Okay.
She'll do an introduction. So we traveled through Europe, 15 days. Fantastic experience. Best friend. She is my best friend. We get to the airport and she says, "This is my daughter, Dana." Dana, TSA worker. I'm like, "Thanks, Mom." She's like, "She's a cop. She's single."
That's so cute. Though.
Mom, please
Aw.
stop. Please stop. She's like, "I know she looks like a lesbian." She's not.
Has
Is
she
that
said
surprising?
I'm like, oh my God.
I'm gonna keep her in Amsterdam.
I want to
love
meet
her.
your mom.
I love your mother.
I know. I love her too. I want to meet her. Oh,
She's a
cute.
blast.
She
She's a
sounds
blast.
funny.
We had a good time. But yeah.
It's like a lesbian.
Is that surprising?
She looks like a lesbian. She's not. That we know of. It's great. I'm in France, Mom. I'm in Paris. Just really, really hoping to meet people here.
Hey, long distance.
Right?
Yeah.
It's Paris.
Yeah.
It's a city of love.
Sure.
There you go. Go on Valentine's Day.
It's great, Mom. Thanks. It's not the demographic I was really going for, Mom. It's awesome. It's great.
She sounds funny.
She's the hoot. She's the hoot. That's the other part of relationships that you have to deal with.
The
Getting
family.
back on track. It's family.
Yep.
Moms and dads and their expectations.
Brothers and sisters, nieces and nephews.
Brothers.
It's all.
I have 2 brothers.
Where are you in the lineup?
I'm in the middle. I know that's
Oh,
shocking.
yeah. Okay.
I was the one they stuffed in the dryer first and turned it on.
That explains so much.
I know it does. It didn't work. I mean, it took too long to heat up.
Oh, I was just talking about the repeated blows to the head that you obviously took.
Oh, sure. Sure.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think it's different.
It's
Children
hey.
of the 80s and
Yeah. You know
what they're
70s and
doing?
80s
They're
are
doing-
That
different.
is true. I
They're
mean,
doing
there is
more
a
and
Gen
more
Xers.
research on TBI. I'm sure they're going to come up with something
I
for you.
never had an injury, never went to the hospital. Never even cried about it. Did you know what happened if you cried or told?
You got it worse.
I like that you said you never had an injury. I'm like the therapist in me. I'm like,
It's not true.
never
Let's
went
talk.
to-
Hey, let's have a conversation about that later.
not
Yeah.
going to the hospital doesn't constitute not having an
I didn't know if
injury.
you caught on to that. It's like we didn't report
Of
it.
course, of course.
Abuse is never reported.
Like, right, when I hear, the client talks
Yeah.
about abuse, but I never had to go to the hospital. Like,
Because that completely invalidated it right there. It's a null and void then, right?
Yeah. If there's not any blood, you're fine.
You're fine even if there is
Yeah.
blood. Makes the grass grow.
my mom still feels guilty because I rolled around with a broken wrist for, I don't know, a week. And I kept saying it hurt. Like, she still, to this day,
Oh, yeah.
will feel horrible. Like, you got to tiptoe around it because she still carries so much guilt about it. But it wasn't obvious
Right.
until, like, then she was, like, bathing me in the water, like, ran over my wrist. And I, like, started crying. And she's like, okay, that might be significant.
I've been there as a parent. You're like, I'm tired of you boo-booing
Right.
about every
Like,
little
Batman
boo-boo.
Band-Aid.
Batman, I got a splinter. Okay, stop. You're not going to die. You're not going to die. I don't want to hear about it. You're fine.
Yeah.
I guess I feel fortunate that all of my injuries were very obvious.
But you're a boy from Louisiana. I'm sure you guys played rough.
Yes, we did. Me and my best friend growing up, we would, whenever I was 4.5, 5 years old, whatever, we moved like 20 miles away. So me and my best friend, we stayed in contact. Our families were still close, whatever. So, but we didn't get to see each other very often, like maybe once every couple months, something like that. We'd get together. We'd start playing whatever, G.I. Joe,
Sure.
whatever it was.
Mhm.
For about first, 5-10 minutes, everything's fine. And then I don't know why, but we just decided we're going to beat the shit out of each
Sure,
other
that's
for the
what-
next
yep.
10 minutes.
Sure.
And then we're fine for the rest of the
Mhm.
day. But it was the same every time. There's going to be a fist fight,
Sure.
and we're going to punch each
That
other in
did-
the face.
Mm-hmm.
That lasted all the way through high school.
Did you? How many siblings?
3.
Girls, boys?
2 older brothers and an older sister.
So the boys, did they play rough?
No, like they really did. I mean, the worst thing they would do would be like hold us down and fart in our faces. Like my oldest brother would do that. And then like it was more, I was really gullible. So I think they just had more entertainment. Like
Are you the baby?
classic yes.
Oh, that's why.
And so like it would be like the ABC gum, the already
Yeah.
been chewed. And then I was super into Karate Kid, and I thought I was Karate Kid, so I'd be
course.
out doing karate. So they would draw pictures of me being Karate Kid and tape them up high enough where I couldn't get them. It was more like that. Kind
See,
of stuff.
were your brothers
They're great.
drew
brothers.
pictures of you? Mine were like, let's see how that works for you. Let's Karate Kid or WWE. Yeah.
Yeah, my brothers were fantastic.
Oh, we were terrible.
I had great. I have great brothers. They're amazing.
You're
And an amazing
describing
sister.
physical abuse, and you are describing mental abuse.
It's not abuse. Stop it. Stop it.
But yeah. No, my siblings were great.
Funny. The worst thing that I think that I still have trauma over, that I still laugh at, because my kids, I think this generation of children, my kids love to hear the stories of my child. We grew up in Iowa, very small town, no TV, get outside. We didn't have air conditioning. So we would play outside, He-Man, run around, and then eventually it turned into a game that I can't say on here. You punching each other until somebody squealed, and then you were fine. But yeah, like my brother we'd wrestle. Like WWE was huge back then, and he thought he was the Hulk, and we'd have to take him down. But look, I'm not taking anybody down, but I didn't know that, right? So by then he would get us down, and then he'd do the spit thing.
Oh,
Where like the
The
spit
wet
comes
willy?
down.
Yes.
No.
Oh.
Spit comes
where
down.
and then you suck it back
and
in.
then they back up. Like it comes
Yes.
down, like right here, and right. You're like,
Yeah, that is the worst.
oh my God.
Yeah. Big brothers are good at that. Or brothers in general are good at that. Yeah. My brother.
He'd
Like-
make that all.
Oh, the noise? It's like an alpaca.
You knew it was coming. You're like,
It's like guttural. This is what I said, though. There is something about men are better spitters. Because he was telling me the other day, like, spit out the truck. And I'm like, it's going to hit me in the face. He's like, I don't remember what you said about, like,
we used to sit in the
whatever.
back of the truck and
Yeah.
spit. You couldn't.
I don't have that distance. Like, the power, like, the ability to, like, form it into shape and have distance. Like, that's like a skill.
Okay. Episode idea for the
know.
summer: watermelon seed spitting contest.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
raise money for it,
I was doing
and whoever
ridiculous-
raised the most
oh,
money can choose the charity. That's a great
That
idea.
was funny. That would be a good, yeah. And then we can add
Rachel's
like,
isn't going to win. We know that. It's going to all land right here.
Stuck to the tip of her tongue.
That's horrible. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
That's
see,
true.
typical.
I'll own my weaknesses.
Typical. She gives us something,
Mm-hmm.
shares a little bit of insight, and I
This
just
is
brutalized you. I'm
right.
so sorry.
This is what it's like being in a relationship with a first responder, friendship or marriage.
Well, but it's a little, that was the best part of my relationship with my ex,
Yeah.
was that we had a great friendship. He was my best friend, and we could behave that way,
Yeah.
and it built our relationship stronger. And then all of life started to happen, and priorities pulled us apart, and it was like, now I can't even tell you a fart joke, and you're too tired to hear it, or the kids, or whatever. So that's important, having that friendship, being your genuine self,
Yeah.
and being accepted, even if you can't spit very far.
Right.
It's okay. It's okay. I can't either.
Lose for the charity.
It's all right.
But that piece, because I think it's in Gottman's The Seven Principles book, where they talk about. So I'm paraphrasing, right? So it may not be verbatim. But essentially, it's about like there's so much focus on good communication, and they're like sometimes it's not so much about that, but like there's this piece that they realized was so important was about like essentially having each other's back and giving your spouse the benefit of the doubt. It's kind of like in friendship, right? Because we do that in friendship.
Sure.
Like I'm going to see more of the best in you or give you the benefit of the doubt if something is funky. But oftentimes in, romantic relationship, we do blame. We don't give the person the benefit of the doubt. And that was a huge piece for successful relationships because they kind of did. Like, I'm going to choose to see like the best or give you the benefit of the doubt in that and try to understand versus just assuming you're purposely being a dick.
Yeah. Well, it kind of goes back to that whole, like what we were talking about earlier of, making decisions or whatever out of emotion. and that's really hard to take emotion out of it in a romantic relationship,
Yeah.
but having that knee-jerk reaction is, by and large, it's an emotional reaction, right? Can we
Sure.
all agree on that? So like whenever you see something, whether it is whatever it is, like Joe Rogan or COVID or whatever is in the news, and you see it and it's like, you have that, oh, he's a dick or he's right or whatever it is. It's kind of it's a decision or an action or reaction or whatever out of emotion. You got to kind of take that step back, process all of the information, because
why am I upset by this information?
Yeah. Typically what you're getting in that first hit is not all of the information anyway. There's usually more of it, or different
Sure.
perspective, or it's skewed, or whatever.
There's
it
always
is.
more to the story. It's,
Yeah.
the perspective that we see.
Yeah.
But if you're, like you said, in that romantic relationship, you're focusing so hard on that one piece because you are that person that I am my barest, most vulnerable self.
Mm-hmm.
You should know the three worst words that could ever ruin a relationship. You should know how deep that cuts at me. And you
if
should never do it.
And if you
should-
don't
should-
know,
should-
I'm not going to tell you.
Well, no, it's a guessing game.
Oh man.
Look, we can't
Read
tell you.
my
Oh,
mind.
That was the worst. Yeah. Yeah.
But again, I think you had a really good point on communication, good communication. Even ugly communication can be good communication. It's a message that you get out of it, so long as you're getting the right message across.
And
Well-
repair, because there's always going to be rifts and repair. So it's like, but like the other day, I think is a good example. I was in a hideous mood for majority of the day, and I'm not sure what mood I was in, what like physiological state
What'd you
I was
do?
in.
What'd you do?
Well, this
I
is what's funny.
said
You
hi.
breathed.
And
Yeah, you took a
so
breath.
whatever it was just funky all
Yeah.
day, right? And I was just like, I know better than to like my brain wants to put meaning to it or say what
Sure.
it is, and sometimes you're just in a mood, right? And it's like I don't know where the F it comes from, but you handled it really well all day, and then by the evening, I was like, hey, I know I've been hideous today. Not sure why. I'm sorry. And you're like, yeah, you were pretty, I don't know what you said. Like, you were pretty awful today or something. Like, I don't remember what it was. I don't think you used the word awful.
No, I
But-
chose my words carefully because
Yeah,
I
I'm
was
sure
in the
you were.
shower at the time.
But
I was in a vulnerable position.
But I think you gave me the benefit of the doubt all day, knowing like you didn't isolate me, you didn't shut me out, you didn't ignore me, and you didn't go like you're being a bitch.
It
What
didn't
is wrong
start
with
a-
you?
it didn't
start a fight. It was just like you kind of held space. You tried to be present in it, and you didn't react to it, and just knowing like, all right, she's got something going on, and like you tend to like try to ask now too, like, is there something you could do? And I know you gotta step carefully.
Well, I think you know the
But-
timing. Okay, so that's the best part of a relationship is that you have that someone. And I will say that's the one thing I do miss is that you have that someone that is undeniably always going to be your six. Always. They will be in your corner, just knowing that they are, even if they have shown that they aren't. You know that they are deep down.
Yeah.
What's amazing is that you're talking of grace. He gave you grace. He knew that you just needed to work your way through it, and he would figure out a time that was tender enough that he could approach it. Or
Yeah.
he knew you would come around and say, look, I know this is what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's amazing. Good job.
Which wasn't always like that, obviously.
Well,
like,
it's
No.
not going to
it's
be.
taken a long road to get there, because I think typically in the past you would shut me out. He would do the just cold shoulder. I'm trying to think what that's actually like, stonewalling
Sure.
and stuff too. Like that would be kind of
46. There's no, I'll improve.
like that. Was it my boat shoes? Is this why?
Oh my
you thought-
God.
Like, was
Boat
it my boat
shoes?
shoes?
The
I don't know. I wore
Yeah.
loaferish shoes a lot, and then I don't know. I evolved into Converse, so somehow Converse are neutral enough
They are.
that
sure.
But she was a
my
gym girl.
sexuality is not in question. I don't know.
I can't imagine that your sexuality would ever be in question. I'm not
Oh, I
hitting
got
on
it
you,
a
but
lot.
I'm just saying.
I got it a lot.
Oh. Anyway.
It's going to be time for more tea before too long.
Oh,
Chamomile.
more chamomile.
Chamomile.
Sure. Or.
All right.
Really?
What were you saying? I don't remember where we stopped before the.
Yeah, before I had to go check on the dogs. It's all right.
You were saying you were trying to power through, and you were saying some good stuff, and I'm trying to listen, but then my head's like, why
Your
are the
security
dogs
issues
barking?
came.
I did.
came back.
Yeah.
Security
I was
issues,
like,
yeah.
wait.
Which is a good question. Were you more worried about the dogs being in danger or yourself? I think you were more worried about the dogs.
Probably.
Like somebody's not going to attack a pit bull.
I saw a great TikTok. Did you send me that? Who sent me that?
I don't know, but I love
one
TikTok.
of my girlfriends sent me one about this guy making. It was this girl in a pit bull, but it was making fun of white women. Like white women,
Yes.
are so crazy they'll adopt a pit.
Yes.
He's like, I've never. If I saw a pit bull in an alley, I wouldn't go up to that thing. And a white
No,
girl,
he does
adopt
that all
one,
the
put
time.
Pajamas on it.
Yeah, he does. He sends them sweat T-shirts. It's like what WW adopt a dog or something. White women will adopt a dog, rescue a dog or something.
That's funny.
There's tons of them. Sorry. got
What's
distracted.
wrong? What's wrong with pit bulls?
I have nothing.
So,
no. It was.
You know what goes on in my head? Sorry, I didn't answer that question.
just
What
a-
goes on in my head, and I don't know if this is the work that I do. I think that somebody is urgently in emergency. If somebody shows up at my house without calling, like somebody's up there knocking on the door and it's emergent, and I'm down here and the dogs are trying to tell me, and then I just lost. Isn't that ridiculous?
No, I think that's valid though. So let's go a little bit deeper on that. I really do feel like that's your biggest fear is being unavailable to someone in a dire situation, which is why you're going for peer support.
Right. I mean,
think
it's probably a big.
I don't know why
piece
you.
Of what I
mean
do.
that of
Yeah.
course
Yeah, or who I am in general.
But I think
have since I was a kid.
that
yeah.
morphs to your job though too, and I know I certainly have nightmares. My reoccurring nightmare, and we're not getting into dream therapy. I just
Oh.
learned about that in psychology.
Hey, you
Ooh,
open the
let's-
door.
Well, because when you were talking the other day, what the hell was that?
I don't know.
5 minutes ago.
I don't know. We talk all the time.
So I've
We've been here
legit worried about my
forever.
brain.
Poor
sometimes.
Jeremy's like, God, Jesus, just shut up. Just get to a point where I can cut it off.
Yeah.
So
You're like,
I don't know
thanks for
what's wrong
watching the
with my
Washdown
brain.
You're
podcast.
done.
it wasn't
What-
the other day. It was
what's-
about like 10 minutes ago.
Where she was talking
about
about.
bringing stuff home from work.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So for me, because it's like I don't think you can ever just leave stuff, right? Like you carry people in your
Sure.
heart, but like not in a way that is taking me down. But the thing that has happened to me and why I've been doing neurofeedback training, because stuff has creeped in to a point like my sleep went to complete shit, and like the nightmares that I was having, like I don't know. I mean, I knew I was in trouble when you like found me on the couch one night. Like, why are you sleeping on the couch? And I'm like, I can't sleep. And my nightmares were like everybody else's trauma. Like some of it would be my stuff and then it would be mixed in. It was like horrific, graphic, violent dreams of like combat scenes and dead bodies and blown up bodies and ways people could die. And it would just be like those horrible movies of like somebody could die, 50 ways somebody could die, right? It would just be like that, like, and it was bad, like months. And so I think that's where I'm like, okay, I'm in trouble. Like for me, when I did all the work around like having just good emotional and energetic boundaries around it, but then when you do trauma work where you're doing this kind of work and you're hearing this kind of stuff, like you're susceptible for it to creep in.
Sure.
So
To share in that. It's very easy.
yeah. So that was, I mean, that was the first time I'd ever had that happen.
Well, that's, secondary and tertiary trauma is a real thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, you don't always have to see it
Right.
to be affected by it.
No,
So,
and spouses, like spouses can be
Sure.
like you have a first responder or military spouse with PTSD, or, whatever, if you want to just say PTS, whatever. But if your spouse has PTSD, that family member is likely to then have experiences and have secondary trauma from
Those
the
kids
trauma
are.
of- yeah.
Because like you said, and that's where I was going, was your kids, you as children knew something was not good going on between your parents. And that's what I really
Yeah,
tried to prevent
kids know
with
that.
my kids
Yeah.
was I'm not going to punish them for being in a relationship that they didn't choose to be in. We're going to make the best of it. But so how they deal with it, and that shows up in school, and then you're adding more trauma to the family, and then I mean it's just a very vicious cycle.
Yeah, I wouldn't even say wouldn't even use the term cycle for it, though. I would say it's just a plate or something like that. That's just more shit's getting heaped on.
But I think the way that it processes becomes a cycle because it
I can,
can, depending on the person and the situation,
from a certain point of view.
it could become a cycle. I would hope that it wouldn't.
She got what I was saying. Didn't you?
About the
No.
point of view
Yeah.
that you were saying it was her point of view.
No, okay.
Ah, dang it! I
Drop
missed
the
it.
ball
Sorry.
again.
She was finishing her chamomile tea.
Yeah. It's good chamomile.
What is that from?
Chamomile.
I knew it was from something.
Lord of the Rings.
Oh, damn it!
It's the Hobbit. Mr.
I should be
Gandalf.
ashamed.
Yes,
I
you
should be ashamed.
I didn't watch the whole thing. It lost my interest after about
Are you
5
kidding
minutes.
me?
I can't.
Oh, I was
I
such
can't.
a nerd. I was such a nerd. Like, my girlfriend and I were so obsessed with Lord of the Rings, and like we went out and made sure we had blazers that were velvet, right, like a hobbit. I know, I see your face, and like I had my leather,
Fix your face.
I had my leather bag,
Remember,
my leather
I said
backpack
RDF.
that we would take snacks and like bread and stuff in. Like, I know, and I was a grown up. I was a grown up at that point.
All right.
This was 3 weeks ago.
It was yesterday.
Yeah. This is
She
what she
still has
does.
the costume.
Yeah.
Okay, reuse it for Valentine's Day.
Yeah. With the furry feet.
Oh,
Yeah.
That was never my thing.
really?
When did Lord of the Rings come out?
When did that first movie come out? I mean, it was like 2004-ish,
I feel like I was in college.
maybe. I mean, it was early 2000s
Yeah.
when
I think I was in college.
those came out, and then the new ones, the Hobbit series, came out a little bit later, like 2013-ish, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't remember. Don't quote me on. I'm terrible with movie
I was just
dates.
trying to get the time frame because it was just, I guess my kids were younger, so I was just all wrapped up in diapers and
Well, that had to do it.
boo-boos.
Yeah.
and
it was
Batman
a
So
beans.
anyway,
Batman?
your recurring nightmare. You
I know,
thought
My
I'm
you-
recurring
sorry.
nightmare.
I
No,
completely interrupted you.
No, please, I've been doing it to him all night.
It's okay.
It's
I'm
karma.
I
used
mean,
to
he
it.
talked about oil a little bit ago.
Oil?
All. I talk
Do you
about
remember-
oil all day.
I don't know if you're old enough, but the Martians from Sesame Street at the Muppet Show.
The Martians?
Yeah, the
Oh, I don't remember the Martians.
I don't remember.
from the Muppets.
No.
Okay,
You can
Do you
show us
remember
later.
Fraggle Rock?
Yes.
Fraggle Rock.
I
was
loved
great.
Fraggle Rock.
That was
That
good.
was my favorite. I wanted to like, I don't know. I was so obsessed with like little magical worlds.
That's iconic though to our generation though.
It totally is.
Yeah, like this generation's losing out on
I
Fraggle
know.
Rock.
Fraggle Rock.
Do
was
you remember the
fantastic.
song?
No, help me. Now you have to.
Not.
Please.
No thanks.
Later. Maybe we can find a karaoke,
karaoke.
version of it.
Sing?
Sing.
Sing.
Anyway, your recurring nightmare.
So recurring nightmares. So
This. This.
it will be. It'll play
You got
back.
a new one.
It's just nonstop.
You're welcome.
That's okay. This one really wouldn't be that bad. So when I first came on, we
It's a meditation chime.
it's
like
yeah.
a bowl, singing bowl.
It is. So I'm telling you, just take a moment. Here, mindful moment.
She's
Fades, love,
great.
fades.
So when I first came on, we had Smith and Wessons, So Smith & Wesson created a semi-automatic weapon similar to Glock.
Oh, you're talking about work. I was back
Yeah.
in childhood with Fraggle
Yeah, no,
Rock,
no.
and I'm like,
No,
what
no.
are you talking about? Smith & Wesson in childhood.
Used
All
to
right. Okay.
traumatic, reoccurring nightmare
tracking.
that because you were talking
Yeah.
about how
Yeah. No, sorry.
recently.
I'm tracking.
So this one, we were told what gun to purchase, and then we had to purchase it. That's why we got distracted last time.
You know that like the therapist would be like, all right, she's talking about a recurrent dream about guns. There's some dysregulation.
Yeah.
Apparently, I'm
Just
getting distracted. Just sitting back here. We consistently throughout the weapon was a terrible weapon when it came to performance and the number of bullets that we were putting into it. So numerous times the firing pin, I don't know if you know much about weapons, but the firing pin would go bad and it would go boom, like all the time. So you're on target and you're trying to qualify and it wouldn't shoot and you'd have to tap rack. And anyways, so even in the field, having that consistently play over and over and over in my head, my biggest fear was getting involved in a situation where I'd have to shoot this gun and this POS was not going to shoot. But we had to use it though. So the dream started out with somebody comes into the, funny, we were just talking about this. Somebody comes into the house. Now this is after divorce. That somebody would come into the house and I would have to defend my home. And they would find me with my kids and I would try to shoot. And the old cartoon where it would
Come out and go bang.
yes, and then it would unscroll and it would say
Yeah.
bang. And then all these emotions of now my kids are involved and I couldn't save my children, couldn't save the dogs. So every now and again when I watch something very violent, like I don't do scary movies because I've got way too much vivid memory. I'll have that one dream and it's just sucks. And I haven't carried that gun in 10 years. Thank God. Smith & Wesson sucked. It was a bad gun. I would never use Smith & Wesson again. I've been on the spot.
This
I feel like
episode-
that's a recurrent.
This episode of The
brought to you by-
Washdown brought to you by Smith & Wesson.
I feel like that's a like I hear that a lot. I feel like that's a pretty common dream for
Yeah.
people too.
Equipment
Not being
failure.
able to,
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
being able to perform.
Shooting blanks.
It got warm in here all of a sudden.
Oh man.
Oh. Yeah.
Well, there's
And
that.
This episode of The Washdown brought to you by Cialis.
Funny that you
talking
know
about
those
the
right
calls.
away. Happy Valentine's
Have
Day.
you watched a commercial ever?
I don't watch TV anymore.
You just quoted like 18 different streaming services. Like
Streaming,
But
yeah.
they don't have
Hulu
regular
has-
commercial.
Hulu has commercials.
I don't think do they have
Not
commercials
that
like that?
many.
Yeah. They
Not that
do.
many. I don't know what you're watching. Mm-hmm.
YouTube has freaking commercials unless you pay for them. Unless you pay for YouTube.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I don't know what you're paying for on YouTube. Probably not the same thing as me.
If you pay a subscription to YouTube, you don't get the commercials and the
About
videos.
dream analysis.
Yeah.
Performance streams. Analysis.
Anyway,
So,
We need a lot of mindful moments.
Yes.
The gong's going off a lot.
Well, that's because you slammed
We
your
all need
cup
to
down
reset.
for the
Well.
fourth time.
he's counting. He's counting.
Oh, I count everything.
Relationships.
Relationships.
Where were we at?
Where were we at?
I love the like awkward,
I don't have 'em.
quiet.
Oh, I'll give you one. Here, we'll go off of this one. Talk about dream. Here, I'll tie this in real nice. Okay,
Okay.
so last time I went on a date. It's no wonder that my mother says things that she says because I give her way too much ammo. So I meet this individual online because that's like, how else am I going to meet someone? I don't want to date another cop. I don't date where I work. Having 2 children, I don't know that I have a whole lot of areas. I don't have time for bullshit, so we'll just move on from that. So anyways, I'm online dating. It's going great. Meet this individual who works for IT, has an IT job.
It's getting dysregulated again.
I'm distracted like a squirrel. We decide to meet up and go to Old Chicago for a quick dinner. So we meet. We've been communicating back and forth, text, whatever. So I feel pretty safe that I know this individual enough to meet them in public, which is a concern for someone who has to have control.
How many weapons did you have on you?
We're not going to say. But you've seen Miss Congeniality, where she has like donuts and weapons everywhere. So, always in public, never at my house, their house, never. So we sit down, we're talking, and I go ahead and order because I was hungry. And he's like, no, I'm not hungry, but please do. He was very kind. And so he had said, did you see whatever name of the movie? And I was like, it doesn't sound familiar. What's it about? And he goes, well, it's a horror movie. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't do it. I can't do it because I have very vivid dreams and I don't want to kickstart those. And he goes, oh my gosh, I know. Don't you hate it when you dream that you've murdered someone and you don't know if you've done it when you wake up? I'm done. I forgot. I have a thing at 9 o'clock. I have to go.
Does he or does he not at this point?
He
know
knew.
that-
No, he knew. Because that's a preface.
Mm-hmm.
He knows I'm a police officer.
Was he trying to make a joke?
I don't know if it was a joke, but that was not funny. Like, if you don't know that you've committed murder when you're sleeping, yes, let's go on another date alone with no one else. That sounds great.
Check it out.
Yeah.
Try it out.
Let's see
See
what
if it
happens.
was a joke.
Let's see.
What's the worst that could happen? So you shoot somebody.
So I said, oh, I've never had a dream where I've murdered someone. And I was like, I really appreciate your time. I've had a good time. I really appreciate the amount of time, getting to know you and you being open and vulnerable for me to know. But I need to go. So we walk to the door. He's ahead of me, and I'm thinking, I gotta go. Like this, I gotta get to my car and leave without him knowing what car I'm in, and then hence following me to my home because that's what the stuff movies are made of.
Yeah.
But I'm trying not to laugh because I'm like, this could have only happened to me, and I can't wait to tell my mom.
You should just tell him you're a lesbian.
Should have. I've decided now that I am not straight.
It's become clear.
That this is not for me.
Like,
So he stops at the door.
make him feel real good about himself.
But he stops at the door and he's just kind of standing there, and I'm like, oh dear God, please not this. Like, we're just gonna go. We're not doing this. He's like, so I'm like, thanks.
Like, fist bump, it's COVID.
Yeah.
It's COVID.
This is before COVID. It's been a couple of years.
Oh, okay.
It's like, I'll call. Thanks.
Have you been on a date since?
No. Why would I?
You need a rebound date just to make up for that one.
Yeah, because they all go so great. What's he gonna do? Say I murdered someone? I buried him in my backyard. It's mysterious. It's weird. When it comes to my
but
backyard,
Jimmy knows about pig farms. I get that threat
Yeah.
a lot.
pig farms. Yeah.
Everybody knows about pig farms. You watch a mob movie, you know about pig farms.
I know.
Just knock out the teeth, right?
Yeah.
They don't eat teeth.
Yep. See, she knows.
It's an important part of a successful marriage.
Is knowing
the
what your
nearest
options
pig-
are?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, do I divorce or go to prison? Same amount of time. Less money. No one knows. See, I can't, because we were talking about this the other day. Who was Lorraine Bobbitt married to?
I feel like this is a
Oh.
trap.
No, it's not a trap.
No, nobody
No,
remembers
because
his
nobody
name. They
remembers
only
his
remember
name. Just her.
Penis or lack of.
And
John-
her name.
John Wayne Bobbitt.
John Wayne Bobbitt.
Oh, yeah.
But they will always preface it with her name
Mm-hmm.
to get the memory of John.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not so much.
Right. That's where our neural network has to do with it.
Yeah.
What? The what?
Our neural networks. So, like the memory pathways, the neural networks, where it's all connected. Yeah. Never mind. Sorry.
No,
Moving on.
no.
No, but it like what sparks the memory.
Right.
Yeah. That's funny though. I don't remember his name until you said it. Then I'm like, oh yeah.
John Wayne.
Yeah. And that's the only reason I remember. is
That's
'cause
it.
it's John Wayne.
That's all I was going for. I was
Yeah.
going to go any further than that.
Yeah.
Just the memory. So relationships.
Yeah.
Don't take
I
dating
know.
advice from me. I feel like I need to have a show though. I think it'd be a lot of fun.
It
Like
probably is.
watch this shit show unfold.
So that's what we need to do with our poured out nights. Is like you
I think
need
that's
to go
fantastic.
on more dates.
Oh yeah.
And then our poured out nights can be like a debrief.
So what do I need to do for that? Because I feel like I'm
For more
fulfilling the expectation already.
Of date?
Yeah. Like I am casting a wide net. And getting 3 years ago IT.
Oh.
Murder in the Sleep.
I
think I
don't
need to go to
know.
Texas. There's a lot of single men in Texas.
Is there?
I don't know. What about Louisiana? Louisiana? But see, then I have kids. I don't want to leave. I love
I don't.
where we're
Yeah.
at.
I
I'd
don't
advise
I know
against
much
it.
about dating.
I don't want to become swamp person.
That's where you need to go.
Really?
You find a guy on that show.
Yeah.
I don't know. I really don't know.
Yeah.
About
Alaska.
dating.
Increase your odds. Right there.
Wow.
It's like 10 to 1.
I'm
Couldn't
prime.
possibly fail.
You're right. I probably could not.
No, I'm not.
I would find a way.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
I mean, maybe you're just too picky. I don't know.
That could be. I know I have very high standards.
Yeah.
But I love your idea, the
Well-
poured out.
Yeah, I think that would be fun. Well, she didn't want to deal with bullshit, so that pretty much knocks it out. You might want to change teams. I don't know.
Thanks, Bonnie. Thanks, Mom. Thanks.
No.
not
But yeah,
happening.
that would
Well,
be fun. We need to get on
yeah.
more dates so we could do poured out debriefs.
In all honesty, though, it's not a bad thing. You know what you want, so
Yeah.
don't settle.
And I
Yeah.
will say, I am very happy. I know people are like, oh, I'm sure she's happy.
She ain't got no man in her life. She ain't happy.
Right.
Look, I
Yeah.
think like with marriage though too, I think you become secure in who you are, and where you're at in life, and it's not so much who you're with, because you're obviously when you're married, you are independent, but you're together, and you're secure in that relationship. Just because I don't have that romantic relationship doesn't mean I don't have successful relationships, and I think people tend to think about only having that. Oh, poor her. Dana, my mom. Oh, honey, I just wish you could wear more blush and have a soulmate. Because that's what it's about. I'll just get another dog. It's
Yeah.
fine. But having successful relationships, focusing on my relationships with both my children and my friends, friends, even if they're fire department. Fire department?
Well, it's all about what you want out of life.
Absolutely.
And I was watching Joe Rogan had Andy Stump on.
Do you have a bromance?
What with
Like a bro crush on Joe Rogan?
Joe Rogan? No. Andy Stump, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's his guy.
But no, they were talking about people who perform at a super high level, like CEOs or, athletes.
Did
and
you
all
just
that stuff.
giggle? Because I can't.
Because apparently I'm like 12.
You can't because
'Cause
I
like
tried not to.
performance.
High level performance. You giggled. I was so trying.
Your laugh is the best. Oh my god.
You.
So I'm sorry. I
so
know.
tried to
he's-
ignore
It
it.
was
but then
actually,
she
it was a
giggled.
super good point, and you just
No, keep
juvenile
going.
the fuck out of it.
Keep going.
Oh, don't
remember,
get butthurt about it.
relationships are about rifts and repairs.
Uh-huh.
So we had a rift. I'm gonna repair.
That was
Please.
funny, though.
Oh.
Please go again.
So
It was
what you were saying
hilarious.
was very important.
Yes.
So you were talking about high level
Talking about
performance.
performance.
High level, yes. So, like, they use the analogy of a CEO for, like a huge tech firm or somebody like that who's working, 14, 16-hour days. Say the guy or girl or whatever is married with kids. What kind of relationship do they really have?
Sure.
Sacrifices that they had to make. And they talked about, guys who did special operations in the military, because that's what Andy did. And he was talking about, yes, I was a tier 1 operator and this, but, I missed a lot of stuff with my kids. And it was ultimately, it's a choice that those people make to be successful in this area. There are sacrifices that you have to make. So it depends on what you want out of life. If you
But
want
I-
to be able to walk that middle ground and be able to be there, you're not going to perform at
Sure.
this high level.
But
you
I
know?
think sometimes you're more than willing to take the sacrifice for the perception of what you're missing out on, what you're sacrificing. It's only after you've made that sacrifice that you truly see how big of a sacrifice it really was and how it affects your peers. So what I will say is that my ex-husband, now co-parent, who's remarried, I couldn't be, if he is happy, that's all that matters to me. I want him in a happy relationship. I may not like that person. I may not like their relationship. It's not my business what their relationship is. So long as it doesn't affect my children, so long as it doesn't affect their household. When it affects the children, then it becomes part of my business. Whatever you need to do. But the problem that we experienced was he would never meet my expectations as a father. He would make sacrifices, and now he's seeing how that's playing out. Distanced from the kids. The kids are seeing through some of that. So it's easy enough to say I'm more than willing to take the sacrifice to work the off-duty jobs, to make the money for my family, because that's what I can do. Because in 10 years, I want to have that RV and be able to retire and spend time. They're not going to be there.
Yeah.
They may or may not. I don't want to say definitively.
Well, no,
But
but that's,
those relationships, I can't do anything about the past. I can't
Yeah.
mend that.
well,
It takes a lot of time to fix.
Well-
I don't know, from the therapy point.
here's the thing. Time, once it's past, it's past. They're never going to be 5 again. They're never going to
No.
be 6 again. They're never going to have that first baseball game or stuff like that. And whenever I was growing up, like I said, my dad was gone for 2 weeks at a time, a month at a time, whatever. So there were basketball games that were missed, track meets that were missed, choir recitals, what you name it, that he
Were you
he
in
wasn't
choir?
there. Yes, I was actually a state finalist in choir. Thank you very much.
So was I.
I didn't know that.
Yes. I have a certificate around here somewhere.
Isn't that crazy, the things you learn that you didn't know even about your spouse?
That's awesome.
Yes.
Aw.
Was it like a co-ed choir? Like a concert choir? I was in
Yeah.
concert
Like a
choir.
eunuch.
Yeah. A eunuch choir? No, I didn't become a eunuch till we got. What the fuck?
You're trying so. I'm gonna need
So
to
anyway.
steer clear of certain words,
Yes.
like huge.
Yeah. Anyway, our state choir competition was held the same day as state literary rally. So if you were in one of those things and happened to be in both, like I was, because I was a history finalist and a choir finalist. So we had ours at LSU, which I don't know if you've ever been on that campus.
I haven't.
So where I had to take the history test, which was like 100 or 200 questions. I don't remember what it was, but it was U.S. history if I remember right. But so you have to be in like almost like business attire kind of for
Sure.
your choir thing. You can't just
Right.
like everybody else that was taking the history portion or the history test with me, flip-flops and tennis shoes and shorts and
Do you know what
I'm
we used to call flip-flops in
dressed
Iowa?
up. I don't know.
Thongs.
Thongs.
Oh,
A lot
yeah.
of people still call them that. So, but anyway, the point of the story is that where I took the history test and where I took the choir test were nowhere close to each other, and they were only separated by 10 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So I ran from one side of the campus to the other.
In flip-flops?
No, in dress shoes.
Oh.
What
To
time
get
of year
to
was
the-
it?
Summertime.
Well, it's Louisiana, so, I mean, do they even have snow?
Oh,
So-
what are your seasons?
Hot and
Hotter?
rainy and hot.
Oh.
So,
But the point
yeah,
being
point
that
being
your father
was-
wasn't there. He
Yes, no.
unfortunately had to miss both.
Yes. So, where was I going with that? Oh yeah, time. You don't get it back.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but from his perspective, and I talked to him about it much later on in life.
Sure.
You know, we had a lot of good conversations. And the viewpoint, which from talking to him and other guys who've been in the same situation, that's kind of, especially that generation of
Yeah.
what they were raised up, and that's what their dads did. It was, we provide. I'm going to go to work.
expectation.
Yeah, the expectation was, I'm going to go to work, and I'm going to work hard, and I'm going to provide for my family.
Yes. Because those were the principles
Yeah.
that they were raised on
Yeah.
by the boomers.
And it wasn't like that. And I'm not going to say there wasn't like an emotional
Sure,
connection and all
sure.
that. There was. But it wasn't as deep as it could have been
Sure.
until later in life.
Because he's showing you that he cares for you by providing for you.
Exactly.
My love language is acts of service. I know that's shocking. Shocking. I would rather love to get you a tea kettle than to watch you continue to shop for one. But I think, their mentality at that time was, me sacrificing the time with you is how I'm going to show you that I love and care for you.
Exactly.
Unfortunately, what that shows for you is a little bit different, because then you need someone who's going to be there for you when you need them to be there for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And I think it's still happening. I mean, I still see guys doing it,
Sure. Sure.
on the job. I mean, I know guys that will work 4, 5, 6, 7 days in a row. Oh man, we got to work this overtime so I can take the kids to Disney or
Yeah,
whatever.
XYZ, the expectations. It's very easy, though. I mean, it's very easy to make money in both of our fields.
Oh yeah.
And I think that's the most dangerous part, is that it's you build the justifications in your own mind as to why you can make those sacrifices. I just would choose to be with my kids and just make the best of the money. And then when I'm not around them, rather than going to the bars and hanging out, I'll go work. It's much better use of my time, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But what's interesting is you mentioned how that's still being done today, but how does that affect your relationship? So I'll say, my parents they were the same. They went to work and wouldn't show up for track meets or whatever. So this past season, when I had bike MS, my mom was super late. And I'm like typical, it's not that important. So when I had a friend that did show up, I was like, that means the world. Like, I've never had that before. So it meant something different. So I think that's what we're still trying to learn as people, is what's important to us and capturing those moments and then learning from it.
Well, and I think we kind of need to take some responsibility on ourselves a little bit too, of letting people know in those relationships that we have, be they romantic or friendships, of what is important. What are our expectations?
But what if you don't know? You don't know until it happens. I had no clue that was an issue I had. I mean, look, of all the issues I have, that was not one of them that I thought was for sure.
Until it is. I mean,
You're
but
just triaging your issues.
Yeah.
That was loaded. That was low priority.
Yeah, but so think back.
Give me 2 seconds. I'll give you something else.
Think back for yourself, and you made plans with somebody or something,
Oh, yeah.
and they didn't show up. And how did you feel about
I'm
that?
done with it. Like,
Yeah.
that's like the worst.
So
That's
it
a
wasn't
sin.
important to you?
Right.
It wasn't important to you?
But it didn't make that sense until that one incident.
Right.
Absolutely. If you don't show up, you don't call, you bye again. I'm not going to waste any more time if I'm not that important to you, obviously. So, yeah, like you said.
Yeah.
So from the therapy
Yep.
standpoint,
What's
I
the
mean, I'm just
question?
giving her all kinds of stuff,
Yeah.
softballs.
What's the question?
I don't know that there was one. It's just like open mic.
Open mic night. Okay. Well, on that, and I don't know where we're at on time, because what I was thinking about, like, what are kind of your primary messages that you would
yeah.
share, right? And for relationships. But I think even speaking to that, because what I always talk to people about, like, you've got to learn to speak each other's language, and we can't expect each other to be mind readers. You know,
Sure.
like, it's entirely unfair. But to try
But
to
I can.
lead,
You know what you did. And I'm not going to tell you. It's going to be a fun guessing game until you figure it out.
it's like, I'm fine. Everything's fine.
I'm fine.
Fine.
Best effort.
Fine.
Yeah.
But to try to understand, and like leading with understanding and being curious about that other person, you
Sure.
know, and like, why is that important to you? And I mean, it took us a long time. Like, I don't think we weren't able to have those questions until like after, you know, shit hit the fan, and like when we could have a real relationship, you know, after your recovery and all of that.
Well, yeah, because
start-
I had to get my fucking head on straight.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
you were forced into the situation. So
Yeah.
that's what dating is supposed to be, is learning to figure out how you communicate with each other. You know, that dance of between learning about the other person and not what's your favorite color, what's your favorite meal. I get so sick of that. But like the interesting things, there are going to be things that you're never going to learn about your other person, like that he was in choir.
Right. I didn't know that.
What
you
were
went
you?
to
You know, back to
freaking
that.
sing.
What?
Yeah.
What did you? Were you a tenor or
I was kind of an in-between,
okay?
so
In between what?
baritone and tenor.
Okay. I know. I wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
She was trying to understand. She wasn't going to
Yeah.
assume.
Speaking.
I'm trying to
Yes.
good communicate.
No, it
My words.
kind of depend on the
Sure.
song and where I needed to be. So,
And
because
now
we
you
had,
own a karaoke machine, so that's interesting.
well, I was in a band for a long time too.
I did know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I knew that.
Yeah.
So
So back on
before
track.
that goes down some road.
Yeah.
So here's my thing too, and this is what I've learned over time, because there's always these expectations of what relationships should look like. What you know, like even just like you should have one date night a week, you know, or whatever. And I don't know why I just said it in that voice, but
I've said that to. I mean, I've said that to 1,000 people. You
Right.
at least try for one night,
right,
a
like
week.
people, right, like there's all these expectations of what we think
Sure.
it needs to look like, right? And I always think of, so there was this horse trainer that I used to follow, and I remember, you know, people would always ask her like, what's the best bit in bridal to use? And you know, she's like, here's all of these options, but here's the thing, like she said, like if a kitchen sink tied on with 2 ropes works, then use it. Like
Right.
stop overthinking or what it has to be or what this person did or this person did. And I think, you know, because what we have discovered what works for us is like we literally have to sit down and look at a calendar and we pick a date day. Like, and it might only be once a month.
Sure.
And
It might
and for
be
some
every 2
people,
weeks.
like they would say, like, that's terrible. It's once a month. And like, but it's there and it's honored. And we know that's what's coming. And there's going to be time in between that like stuff's not as crazy or not as busy. And so we have more time together. But I think taking the time to honor that, because I remember a while, like years ago, I was thinking what we were supposed to do, or we should be like going out to dinner or something. And I'm like, again, why should we? Like if what works for us is something different, then let it be what works for you.
Well, you're just adding more. What I have found is that you're adding more pressure, societal pressure, to what should be
Right.
working for you.
yeah.
you're not creating a relationship that works for you. You're creating a relationship that works for somebody else in their expectations.
Right.
And then you have that, well, if we can't make it work every week, now you have hurt and resentment, and it's not going to work.
Something's wrong with us, right?
So you're adding even more pressure and demise to a relationship that's already difficult enough. Look, it's difficult enough as it is. But I think it's great that that's part of learning, is you learn what works best for you, no matter what it looks like for somebody else. It's got to be what's you'll figure it out.
Right. Yeah.
We didn't date at all. And I think that was part of it, was, again, we lost that friendship. We weren't able to connect as friends, as romantic partners. We were parents on the go, and we had 2 kids, and it was hurry up and go. So I would say, I don't know, I'm going to pass on that piece of information because I think that's important, is trying to figure it out.
Yeah. How about you?
I agree.
No.
Nope, you can't pull a me.
Typical. It's okay. I don't have any guns on me.
What
I
do you
won't
think's
shoot
important?
What
would be kind of your lasting message about relationship?
Oh, there's so many. No,
It's time to have a courageous conversation. You can do it. I promise. It'll be okay.
You won't die from feeling vulnerable, I promise.
It's a safe place. I want you to feel warm and fuzzy right now.
Pain.
I know. Really? Because I'm still feeling the sting from earlier.
No, I think as men, and I can speak from that perspective, yeah, I think the biggest thing that I would say.
It's right now.
I'm sorry. I'm trying.
See, this happens every time I start to talk.
I'm
you guys,
intently listening.
You're not intently listening.
No, I was.
I know. I think she genuinely was.
I genuinely, but my face is bad. Like,
this is what happens in therapy. I have to tell my clients all the time, like, sometimes I don't know what my face is doing, because somebody be like, what did you just do? I'm like, I don't know what
I don't
it just
ever
did.
Yes, I can get in trouble for my words very easily, but my face speaks volumes.
And I think it
that's
was
what I can't
sincere and
control.
intently listening. It just
looked like I was sleeping.
And it just kind of looked like,
Yeah, that was
Great
we're
point.
like, what the?
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead.
Anyway,
Why did you catch me on that, man?
I know, I'm sorry.
No, it's probably good because it didn't look good. It was ugly.
I kind of go back to the point of time. So you're not going to get the time back. And like
Sure.
what Rachel was talking about of, we schedule, which, I mean, that doesn't sound super
tedious.
romantic
No,
or
but-
whatever, but, we make it a priority that we are going to spend that time together. And, like she said, we still cook dinner together whenever we are both home. We make that a priority, and we do that fairly often, especially more so now. But yeah, it's spend the time together and be present whenever you're there. Get off your fucking phone.
Oh, the phone.
Well, it is, because you're essentially inviting, and I have to call myself on this all the time. Like, essentially, like, the most important person is the person in front of you at that moment, like, whoever that is. And I say that, obviously, like, if somebody calls you and it's emergency, like, that, I'm not disregarding
That's
that.
not what we're talking about.
Right. But I think the point is, because otherwise, like, if I'm sitting at dinner with you and I'm on my phone, then I just invited all those other people to dinner with us. You know what I mean?
Well, not
It's
only
like,
that,
or on
but
our date, then I'm inviting all these other people onto our
what
date.
does that
that's supposed
say?
to be on our date.
What does that say to the other person, that I'm not important enough?
Right.
I'm not
Yeah.
valuable. I'm not important enough.
And to me, it's just like, that's a definite no.
Yeah.
Like, I get if something comes up,
Right.
totally handle it. Do what you need to do. What can I do to help or support you in that moment? But otherwise, get off your phone. The phone is, I think, is going to be the demise of our society. But I say that very
well.
broadly.
They're already doing studies on social media and
And I
phone
think it's hard
addiction
for
and-
relationships too, because my feelings get hurt, and then I can just go out there and do a TikTok dance. Now I wouldn't because it wouldn't come across right. But get all the attention that I should be seeking from my partner. I think that's very, very dangerous.
Yeah.
Very dangerous. I would just say communicate. Knowing when to leave it at home is very, very important. My work self and my personal self are two different people. And I don't mean that in like a 21 personalities type of thing. Don't take it that way.
You're fine. I know what you mean.
But I tend to not let it cross over. Like I have that time where I get off work. I have my downtime, my workout time, and then I'm energized for that at-home time. And then it starts back over. Unless an emergency happens, and then it's time to cross back over.
Right. Well, and I think that decompression time or that transition time is really important. That you have some kind of transition into it, because you can't because even I can't. Like, I can't come straight from, and especially if it's really intense sessions or whatever, and I come straight home, I can't flip it that quick, right? Like, I need some, and we know that about me. Like, I just need some decompression time, or I've got to quiet down a little bit. And then, because I remember Roger Solomon, who's a forensic psychologist, at one of his trainings, he talked about, like, because who do you want to be at home? And that's why you do have to address, like, who you are at work and who are you at home. Because, like, do you want to be that? Who do you want to be at home? Who do you want to be with your spouse? Who do you want to be with your kids? And that's an important piece for anybody, but especially for a first responder, to know how to, like, be able to transition that in and out and not just shut down at home. And the spouse needs to know, like, to honor that. And even I know this stuff, and I'm not. Sometimes you'll walk in, I'm like jibber jabbering, and then I have to catch myself.
But at least he's patient enough, and he knows that, hey, we need to have a conversation about it and respect that space.
Right.
And that's
now.
Which I think we've interrupted you a lot tonight, and
I'm really sorry.
I know when you were supposed to share, like, just your final thoughts, and I interrupted you too. So
I took it away from him. I stole it from him. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I kind of knew how this night was going to go anyway.
Oh, because you're outnumbered. Did you have any more to say, or were you done after you were talking about
I was
put
done.
your effing phone down?
Yeah. No.
I feel like that was directed
fine.
at me. I know it was.
No, but I think it's valid, though. It's very valid because, to your point, you're adding in those people to your relationship, and they don't know anything about your relationship.
Right. Yeah.
I think it's difficult. We talked about perceptions of what people perceive you to need to be.
Yeah.
So I had a hard time with, while at work, not having that like, my coworkers would be like, "How are your kids?" I'm like, I don't talk about my kids at work because I'm not mom here. But also I was afraid that they would give me a hard time. This is where we go into that little bit of masculinity, that I would be my goal was to be the June Cleaver at home. I wanted nothing more. What makes me happy is preparing a meal for my family and then us sitting down and sharing it. Like, that makes me so happy. There are days where that process isn't really so fun, but it's the providing for and just breaking bread that I really wanted. I wanted them to that was what I wanted. So I had to work for that. And then to be able to turn that off to be a cop who, at a split second, would jump out of the car and go chase something down, which was so much fun. You guys don't get to do, but it's a lot of fun. So
I'm not chasing anybody.
Look, I might chase a donut from time to time now. Only a really healthy one, the protein donuts.
Sure.
They have them. But so it was really kind of hard because I didn't want my work people to know what I was like personally, because I felt like that wasn't their business. And that became even more evident when I was going through the divorce, was that everybody had an opinion of what was going on in my personal life. And it's like, you have no clue what there was no affair. I get that's what everybody wants to say. But you didn't live it.
Yeah.
You didn't work hard for it. You didn't fight for it. You're not going to be the one to deal with the aftermath. So just butt out.
Yeah.
But I think it's trying to be strong in both roles and then trying to find that middle part where you give yourself permission to decompress and to own those minutes in between, because I don't know a mama that doesn't need it.
Yeah.
Go home and yell at kids and families.
And
It's
women
tough.
carry a lot of roles, a whole lot of roles. And I think, speaking to that, even just the judgment and the assumptions, like that just needs to stop across the board. So whether it's in relationship, work relationship,
Yes.
friendships, like whatever, like we have got to give each other some grace.
Yeah.
And this is why I love doing the horse work, and because it is a beautiful way. Like people come in with so many perceptions and projections and assumptions of what's happening. And so like that's I think one of the biggest lessons that we can learn from, especially from horse. I mean, there's lots of ways I think to learn it, but from interacting with horses and horse herds, because people all of a sudden get faced with, oh wait, I may be wrong. I may be making an assumption, or I may be like projecting onto something, or not.
Right.
I'm seeing it through my own lens, and there might be another lens to see it through. And I think that's so important, because like we just need to give each other more grace. and
But
less
I think
judgment.
it's
Stop
hard because
assuming.
I think like every time you experience something new, you provide a new script, right? And then the next time you think you might be in that same situation, you already have a script for it. So I think your brain just automatically goes to, when I don't know what to expect, here's the script that kind of looks like that, and here's what I've heard, so I can control.
Which is not something you guys like at all.
No.
It's not important for first responders.
How do I act? How do I respond? I can control my emotions in certain situations. So I think I think that aha moment that comes up is so important. And I'm so thankful that people actually have that opportunity, because I think that teaches way more than just coming in with those perceptions. Because then they're like, maybe I should just start open mind most situations that I go into.
Right.
And see what happens.
Yeah.
I think that's important.
Absolutely. All right.
What about your final words? Other than one night, making sure to make time and space.
Oh, no, I think it was, essentially like what works, right? Because I think that success is different for everybody,
Sure.
and I think it's figuring out truly what works for the individual, and stop doing like all the shoulds and the expectations of what other people think it should look like. And sure as hell don't compare your relationship to the outside of somebody else's, or to their social media.
Social media is the worst.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, they look so happy and
Yeah.
I wish I could live that life. No.
Yeah. And I think we need more spaces, and I think this is why this is important. But, whether it's in close friendships or support groups or podcasts or whatever, that people are more honest about how difficult things are in relationships. And, even like with infidelity, I think it's one of those things that oftentimes people don't talk about until they've gone through it. And then other people come out of the woodwork and say, oh, I've been there too.
Because there's so much shame involved in
There
it.
is.
That's a
And-
whole nother podcast. I mean, we could do a whole nother
Yeah.
podcast on the shame.
Yeah.
No one wants to readily admit the shame.
Right. And that's what keeps people in the dark. But the antidote to that is to bring things out into the light.
Right.
And so we need to build more of those relationships to be able to do that. And I think couples need to work on like understanding like how to create that kind of emotional safety too, because
Sure.
it is the most vulnerable relationship. And we talked about this earlier. Like it is as vulnerable as like your relationship with your caregivers, your parents, whatever in childhood is the most vulnerable, right? Like you were dependent on survival. You were dependent on those people for survival. And you get into romantic relationship and it just stirs all of that
Sure.
stuff up, and that vulnerability and exposure. And so we've got to create safety for each other to then also be able to be open and honest. And I feel like I hope that, and I know we talked about that on the podcast before of talking about what we went through, but to be able to create safety for that person to come out into the light, to not just be in a space of shame, to not derive my power from your weakness or your shame, right? But to like just create that space for safety, I think is really, really, really important for couples.
That's so
Like,
hard
how
to
do I make that
do.
safe? Yeah.
It takes a lot of confidence, one, and two, a lot of faith
Yeah.
Because you could be holding that space for a long time and that person never comes out. And
Yeah.
it's like you're just... So I think the biggest concern, and I know you mentioned it's for another podcast, but I think the biggest concern is self-sacrifice. To what point do you say enough? Like,
Yeah.
how damaged
Yes.
do I need to be for my own personal self before I give more space for another person?
Yeah.
Well, I think that's going to come down to the individual.
Sure.
It's an individual choice, and I think you can't put
No.
you need to go this far, or you need to go
Right.
this far.
You're gonna know for you.
Yeah.
Right.
And I wouldn't, like, it would look different if he wasn't doing the work, right?
Sure.
If he was just continuing in the same space he was in, my response would be different. Like, I can give grace to you as a human being. It doesn't mean I'm going to stay in the relationship, right?
Sure.
And like, so I think that those two things are different, but it's like my choice to stay in the relationship was based also on his willingness to do the work and to be honest and, you know, to do what it took to like rebuild trust and
Sure.
all of that. So I think there does have to be, like, it's reciprocal, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what my final words were, but
There's a lot.
figure out what works.
Yeah.
Good wisdom, though. I mean,
Yeah. Figure out what works for you. What kind of life do you want to lead?
it doesn't matter what others do.
Yeah. It really
Yeah.
doesn't.
Because
And-
they're not a part of your relationship unless you invite it in.
Yeah.
I mean, if that's your thing.
Yeah.
Well, and but that goes for, all aspects of your life.
Sure.
What do you want your life to be?
Sure.
What's going to genuinely fulfill you and make you happy? Because I can tell you what won't. Chasing after stuff,
It's
chasing
fun for
after
a minute.
Yeah, chasing after money or whatever it is, it's eventually going to leave you empty.
Sure. Yeah.
So, just realize if that's the type of life that you want to have and money is the most important thing, you're going to give up everything else.
Yeah.
If you want the relationships and the balance and the family life and all of that stuff, then you got to kind of go the other way.
Sure.
So, all right.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Thanks for
I
coming.
know. Here you go. Rob, oh, wait, I'm not supposed to name names, am I? Okay, so anyway, so
This
I
person.
got this wisdom from this other person that I really liked. So I think it was a different chaplain had told him this, that it's like the cycles of relationship, and I'll apologize to him if I botch it, but it's like there's the honeymoon phase, and then we have issues, and then we are hunky-dory. And it's like you get past the honeymoon phase, and it's usually just the cycling. And if we have issues, we're hunky-dory. We have issues, we're hunky-dory. And I loved that, and I remember it touched a lot of people because I think it's very true.
Yeah.
Because you're going to, right? Like it is, but you're always going to have rifts and repairs. It's working on the repairs. And don't expect that it's always going to be easy, because it's not.
Oh my God, marriage is not.
Yeah. It's hard.
Yeah.
I was just telling my daughter, she's been in a relationship with this guy, and they've been on again, off again for like a year. And she's like, "Mom, just tell me what I need to do to keep him." I know what'll keep him.
That's a whole nother podcast.
I know what'll keep
too.
him.
Yeah.
A little bit of taxidermy will keep him alive. But I said, but hon, you have to look at marriage is hard. This is not, you're imagining being married and having kids with this gentleman. You guys can't even get through courtship. And you think marriage is going to make it? Like what did you not learn? Did you want to see what your father and I can do? Give us 5 minutes together. It's great. We actually get along really, really good. I will give props to my ex-husband. He is a fantastic human being. He's a good dad. He's the best dad he can be. And I will give him the props for that. He's a good dude. He's funny. He has to be.
Oh, humor helps a lot.
Oh my gosh.
And that will break a lot of tension, because we have to use it a lot.
Sure.
When stuff's just ugly, and like if
You can't be
one
mad at me
person-
if you're laughing.
right. If one person can just break it with humor, Like it's priceless.
But it has to be well timed. I will say it has to be very well
It does,
timed
'cause it
because
can
if
backfire.
you think it's funny and you're laughing and I'm still not there,
Well,
it's
it
gonna be
has to
bad.
be, and what I have found is it has to be that inside joke that we both
Sure.
share.
Sure.
Like it's not necessarily wouldn't be funny to anybody else, but
Yeah.
it's
Right.
like,
Like,
Batman or
Batman,
something like that.
Hang
Or
on, I'll
stop.
get-
Yeah, that's the thing. That's what because that's what our nephew would say. Like if you're going to take a toy from him or, whatever.
or even if people escalate, like if he thinks people are escalating,
Yeah.
he'll do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just a quick stop.
Yeah. He just
And
calls
everybody
it.
stops. And
It
you're like,
gets people's attention.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So I was
Yeah.
having a ridiculous fit, and I don't know. I was just being hideous one day, and
But
then
I
I'm out in
think
the,
that's
he shuts
okay.
the garage door.
I mean, it happens, right? I mean, being hideous, that if it happens once, twice a week, look, he gives you the space to be hideous, and he still loves you afterwards.
Right.
You
right.
better.
yeah.
Yes, yeah, because we can give each other that grace. But
Sure.
then, like using a joke like that, because I think he was gonna like lock me into the garage.
Now that would be funny.
So
That's
he
something
locked
I
me
would
out,
do.
And then he opens the door and he's like, "Stop!" Like, and then I went hysterical laughing because it was like
Right.
his perfect toddler voice, and it was super funny. I was like, "Okay, I'm fine."
Like, could you have done that earlier in the day and it wouldn't have been so hideous all day long?
Right.
The timing wasn't right. It's all about timing.
Timing.
Right.
Comedy is 99% timing.
Sure. Execution.
Yeah.
I got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
All right.
All right.
Well, Dana, thank you for coming back
Thanks. You're
again.
welcome.
I appreciate
It's
it.
been a blast. Thanks,
Rachel,
guys.
thank you for coming on the show again.
You guys are
I
great.
This was
appreciate it.
Happy
This was
Valentine's
great.
Day.
Happy Valentine's Day, everybody. And like we end every episode, if you are struggling, reach out. There are resources out there for you. If you know somebody that's struggling, reach out. Let them know what the resources are. And thanks for stopping by. Have a great one.